A very good evening and welcome to the 31st edition of Trendz Talks. As you know, we started during this pandemic, and then our initiative was to bring in people from different walks of life. And it has been pretty sporting for us here because we have been roping in people from the sporting fraternity, be it somebody who's playing tennis, football coaches, commentators. And today we have Kevin Lawler, who's been involved in coaching for the past 10 years for the girls team, and he's got a dedicated team there, and he enjoys coaching them. It was almost there that they were lifting the trophy. However, it was due to COVID that they might have possibly have to delay it a bit, right? However, I'm giving it to Kevin now to take it up from here, and he can give us a perspective from here on. It's all yours, Kevin.
Yeah. Thank you very much for inviting me on. It's always good to share information and share how everyone's coping in this scenario. We're living crazy times, yes? Unfortunately, I was born in crazy times, so I'm quite used to that scenario. I'd like to give you a little bit of background of who I am. I was born in the United Kingdom in the 60s. Not to a rich family, to a very poor family in many ways. And that shaped my future. And I think it's so important to understand where you came from and how you get to where you are. So what led me into coaching? What led me to do this? So it's a long story, but I'm going to tell the story anyway. What I have is I'm just going to share a document with you. And this was me. I guess you just see me. Yeah, this is me when I was a little kid, and as you can see, I wasn't exactly the most chunkiest guy in the world, and I had little matchstick legs, and I was full of life as always. And eventually, when I was about 5 years old, just after the picture on the left-hand side was taken, I was involved in an accident. A car hit me. I was 4 years old, just nearly 5, and I spent the next 6 months in hospital, being rebuilt. I mean, literally being rebuilt. I got 2 broken legs. I got fractured ribs. I got everything damaged. So I spent a lot of time in hospital. And then when we went to see the consultant later on after that, the consultant said that I'm fine. Remember that. And the consultant said, well, you do know, Mrs. Lawler, that he won't be able to do very well. He won't be able to do this. He won't be able to do that because the damage he'd done in the accident was phenomenal. So when you're a kid of 5 years old and you hear that information, so I'm going to say some people can't see, maybe they can. So when you're involved in that kind of accident, and you're told at 5 years old you can't do things, it is a big shock to the system. So I'm thinking, so I can't play football, I can't do all the things I enjoy doing. And you come to that point at that moment in time, and remember, I'm 5 years old, I'm thinking, I ain't going to listen to this conversation because it doesn't represent who I am. Yes, I've learned how to walk again. Yes, I've learned how to move again. Yes, I've learned how to do a lot of other things again. So going back to school, in primary school, I was quite protected. The teacher, oh, Kevin, you just sit there. You're not allowed to join in, which was great for my mum, but not necessarily for me. So as always in a school situation, I got to about 11 and we went into secondary school. And no matter what condition you had at school, you had to participate. And that was my chance. I couldn't opt out. My parents couldn't opt me out. The doctors couldn't opt me out. I was supposed to do something. So they looked at me and said, right, Lawler. I said, yes, sir. He said, you're going in goals. What does that mean? Well, you stand in the goals and you save the balls when they come. And as you can see, that's not a picture of me, actually. It's a picture from Kez, but it's actually a very similar thing. So you've got this 11-year-old kid who had no idea what's going on, being put in goals to play and represent the team. And, you learn a lot from being a goalkeeper. Things, you see things. You watch the match from a different point of view. You see spaces on the pitch. You see players, and you're shouting. I was told, "Tell them." And as a goalkeeper, you're actually directing the team. Move into this space. I can't kick that far. I can do this, but I can't do this. So I spent quite a lot of time learning that skill and also being a goalkeeper. I wasn't a particularly good goalkeeper, but I'd learned some things and I could start to anticipate what was happening, how people move, how people pass, how they get past defenders. Because once they got past the defenders, it was me alone. So I did that. And I learned some really important lessons from that. The second thing I used to do is run. And again, that was another thing the doctor said I shouldn't be able to do. So I joined the cross country team, 7 kilometers, 12 kilometers, and I was pretty good at that. So I continued breaking and defying all the rules of life. And I started playing football and throughout my younger years, despite all the doctor's assurances, I played football. I played all my life. I still play football because it's a passion. And I think it's also being told I can't do something. So we moved to Qatar, which was a very conservative time, and I've got 5 daughters. The story of them as well. And we were in the middle of Qatar, which is a very conservative country. Girls weren't doing very much then. And I got my 3 daughters who were at school, and they challenged the system. And it's about women empowerment. They challenged the system. They went on sports day and they could run. And they used to win all the medals. They used to win everything. The long distance, the short distance, the high jump and that. So they were a huge phenomena to the girls in Qatar that my 3 girls at that time could do all these amazing things. One day, they came to me and said, "Hey, Dad." I said, "What is it now?" They said, "We want to make a football team." Okay. Have you got enough people? Yeah, we've got 7 girls interested in playing football. We need someone to coach us because the school says we can only have a football team if we have a coach. So my girls were part of the team and we started developing a squad, saying training and doing all the things you're supposed to do. The problem was because Qatar was such a conservative place, we couldn't play anybody. So we used to practice 3 aside, 2 aside, 4 aside. Eventually, I made a phone call to a friend of mine who lived in Doha, and we organized a match with his girls, and we played, and we won the match. My girls were ecstatic, so was I. Sign of success as a coach. And I really enjoyed that. So we started my coaching career via my own daughters. They're all 25 years old, these 3 now. And it was interesting. We'll have to mute them. So they were the ones who inspired me to be a coach as well as play football. And it was fantastic to see my girls develop from athletes to sportsmen, and then setting up the first girls' football team in the Middle East, in Qatar at that time. And a ripple throughout the school. And play football. At first, they were ridiculed, but then eventually they got on, and we ended up with 2 teams. Then we ended up with 3 teams, and we ended up with 4 teams. Other schools then were looking at us and going, "Can we do this?" Did. So eventually they developed in about 4 years. My girls, in a way, were the foundlings of the girls' football in Qatar. Ironically enough, one of them, they also do sports, and one of them was admitted They came to me one day. They said, "Hey, Mr. Lawler, we want one of your daughters to become a Qatari national." Okay, why would that be? Well, we want them to represent the country in running. And that's a big decision. What do you do as a parent? The British, they want to be. Do you want to become a Qatari national? And they did. And one of them became a Qatari national at that time and still lives in Qatar at this moment in time. She works for the museums out there. And she represented Qatar up to the Olympics. She used to practice with the Olympic team for Qatar. And they did. So after that time, I went on to live in China. And right, that's one of my, again, we developed a girls' football team in China, in Beijing. Brilliant, a great phenomena, absolutely fantastic watching these girls grow and take home medals. It's an amazing experience being a coach because there's so many emotions involved in coaching. You see them on the happy times, you see the successes, you see the tears, you see the near miss. So it's a very, very emotional time for me, yeah, and I really enjoy it. So here's a couple of pictures of us on one of our trips. This is from Albury now, and these are some of the girls which we work with, and yeah, they're absolutely proud of this squad. We have probably one of the youngest squads in Mumbai, and when I first took over the coaching, there was one player, brilliant. Everybody relied on the one player. And of course, she left school. She had to go to university. So now we've got this team with not that player. And we became probably the best team in Mumbai because we didn't rely on one person. We all had to come together as a squad, play together, learn together. We got people who were 11 years old in the team, 12 years old, the youngest teams in the tournament. And with that, they started playing. We came second, we came third. Oh, we nearly won. Developed it from scratch with lots of younger players. What was amazing is we actually learned to play as a team and we became a better team because everybody relied on everybody else to play the game. There was no one better than anybody. Everybody had a chance. Everybody played. What we did like was belief in ourselves. And that was amazing. Over the year, there were two teams. We couldn't beat them ever. Played our best. We did everything. All of a sudden, change. And it starts with the mind. And that's how it goes. So the mind change in the team, and they started winning, and they started bringing tournaments. They started playing the hearts out, and they became probably one of the best teams I've ever played with. So it was very interesting to see how that went. Unfortunately, at the end of the season, just when everything was going unbelievably well, waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning, we get on the coach, we move on down. We go to the match, we win the first match, we win the second match. And then all of a sudden, COVID strikes. And we just had beaten the team we could normally not beat. COVID came along and they said, the BMC came to the ground. Sorry, guys, this tournament's finished, which was very disappointing. And we sat on the coach not knowing what would happen. We knew we'd won the tournament. We knew we were the winner. And we had to go away with nothing because the COVID situation took us apart. And they said, no more matches. Time we believed that it would only be for a short time. So we went back to school. We started training again, working harder, waiting for the next tournament. Then we suddenly realized there wasn't going to be any more tournaments. And we're in shock because we got the best team we could build in Mumbai. We got the best players. We got the best attitude. We got the best training. That's not me. The training goes down to a guy called Mr. Preetam, who is amazing and has been looking after the team as well. And we couldn't play. And again, we came to towards the end of the season. They started asking me questions. Mr. Lawler, who's going to be the captain? Mr. Lawler, who's going to be the captain? And I sat down with my colleagues and we thought, well, and we gave it to one of the girls. A controversial decision. But public. But there was a reason we gave her the captaincy. We knew there was going to be no matches. We knew we wanted someone to lead the team off the pitch, which is what's happened. And I've been watching this throughout the season of COVID and where we couldn't play matches. I do know that religiously every Sunday she set up a session. She got training sessions going to bring all the girls together and show everybody training. That's one of the wonderful things about the team is it brought everybody back together. Every week they came together. They did some exercises. They kept fit. They chatted. They looked at each other. They played together. And that's why we probably still have one of the best teams in Mumbai. I know for a fact that we're looking forward as we're hoping school's going to open soon. One of the first things that I know that a lot of the kids want to do, not just my team, but the kids at schools, they want to go out and play sports. That's their life. That's what school's about. Exams are good. Everything else is good. But when you're in a team and a squad, it makes a huge difference in your life. So I'm also looking forward to that. And I can't wait to get back on the pitch. Me as well. I'm almost 40 now, some people think. So me going on the pitch, I love playing. I still play again, despite doctor's orders. But I go on because I believe in the sport so well, and I think there's a relationship that you build up with people when you play sports with them, when you see them at their happiest times of their lives when they've won a game, to the sadness and the despondency when they've been taken out. It's an emotional game, and coaching is an emotional thing. And as I said, it started off with my girls, my daughters, who are my family, and I've always coached in the same way as I'm coaching my own family. So I've got two new stars. I've got my little one. She's 3 years old. There's a little picture of her there. She's probably got one of the best kicks in the world. She's 3 years old. She can kick a ball. She can pass. She laughs when she nutmegs people. Ira, you better be careful in the future. She'll nutmeg you. And she's 3 years old. So what makes it different? What makes me different is hopefully the ability to see things differently. I entitled this talk Diary of a Dyslexic Coach because I didn't realize I was dyslexic for many years. I still don't think I am, but anyway, that's what the doctors tell me again. It gives you a view on life very, very different than somebody else because we don't think differently. So when I was a goalkeeper, you saw spaces, you saw the whole pitch. And I think that helps me when I'm coaching everybody. So that's the story of where I am now. The future, I can't wait to get back. I want to play tournaments. I've no problem waking up at 4 o'clock. I've no problem coming home at midnight, because watching young people grow and develop and be part of a team is probably one of the most interesting phenomenons of life. Okay, I think that's it for me. I've done about 25, 30 minutes there, yeah? So that's a story. And it's an important one, because being part of a team is bigger than the one player. It's bigger than the coach. Being part of anything which you join together to do things together, especially now under the COVID situation, is so important to keep your morale up and keep you focused in life. So thanks, Krishna, for letting me share this information. Hopefully it can be edited down and all the dumb things I say can be taken out. But it's been an absolute pleasure doing this for you. If there are any questions from the girls, no problem. There's 2 girls in at the moment. Otherwise, make a comment. It's going to be put on YouTube. Watch it, like, share, and everything else.
Yes, it's been an absolute pleasure, Kevin, to hear your story. And then you were talking about your perspective as a goalkeeper. I have played a little bit of football myself, and I've been a goalkeeper too.
Yep.
And as you said, it gives you a vision as to how the moves can happen and how you can strategize. You can learn what are the limitations of a player or a group in general. So can you explain that scenario? What did you actually...
Well, a goalkeeper is a strange position in life. I was chosen as a goalkeeper because normally, as I used to say, I mean, it's not... we shouldn't say this today, but in the old days, it was always the fat kid as a goalkeeper. You know what I mean? And I came along and broke the rules because I wasn't the fat kid. I was a skinny kid. But because I was technically injured, they put me in as a goalkeeper. And a goalkeeper's life can be very boring, as you can see, playing on, doing dumb things, and it can be very intense. But what you do have is a vision of the whole pitch. You see spaces, and I think that's what I can see is when you look as a goalkeeper, you don't see plays, you see spaces. You see spaces you can put the ball into, spaces where people can run into. You need a lot of decision making. You've got to call out to players. You've got to say, be careful this, because you're always facing away most of the time from your players. They're looking this way and you're looking and you see the whole pitch. So you see dangers that other people can't see. So goalkeeping is probably one of the amazing skill. I was so privileged to be a goalkeeper. I wasn't the best. But it's terrifying because as a goalkeeper, you're the one who lets the team down sometimes. But you're not. But you're also the one who saves the team occasionally. But it's the vision you see as a goalkeeper. You see the whole pitch. You see the whole gameplay. You see the danger from the players coming towards you. You can see people out of position. So you start to see that from that perspective. So I think goalkeeping is it's an amazing experience, and it allows you to be a better coach in many ways, I think.
Right. You also mentioned that you were dyslexic, right? So how do you see, I mean, there's a disparity in trying to understand the limitations, the emotions of the men and the women. So, can you explain that?
Well, yeah, well, dyslexia is one of those strange things. We never diagnosed as dyslexic when I was a child. You just thought differently. And at first, you can either look at it in 2 ways, as a handicap and stopping you doing things, or you can explore it because it allows you to think differently. So when I'm on a football pitch or doing anything, it allows me to see a different perspective. I see things other people don't necessarily see. And so it gives you a small advantage. The second thing is I can use both my left foot and my right foot. So most players could only use one. So I could use this to an advantage on a football pitch. My left's not as strong as my right, but I can still use it. And it gives you an advantage. So it gives you a different way of looking at things. Dyslexia doesn't really affect the game, but it does affect how you see gameplay. And I think some of the skills I learned from that in a coach is when we're trying to beat the teams, there's two big teams we wanted to beat in Mumbai. And if you play the same game as you always play, you'll always get the same result. If you go in with the same mindset that they can beat you, you'll always get the same result. And this is where an alternative way of thinking can come in and change your way of play, change your attitude. And as the girls know, we started winning then because they changed the way, they changed their belief systems. They believed they could beat them. They found a conundrum of how to beat them. So that's one of the great things I learned from my own childhood as well. But dyslexia does play a part in it. It allows you
Right.
to think differently.
Mm-hmm. Right, Kevin, I see there is a lot of similarity between life and football in general. So there are some
Ah,
lessons that we learn in common, right? Be it leadership, strategizing, you name it, and then you can learn a lot of things. How do you see that perspective?
I get football is life. You know what I mean? Once you play a game of football, all your worries disappear. When I'm on a football pitch or coaching, you know, my mum was shouting, "Kevin, your tea's ready." I forget food. I'm not interested. You've got a doctor's appointment. I don't care. And it becomes part of you. All that matters in those when you're playing football, all that matters is you play the game. And I think that's where a lot of people in life don't do. They forget to play the game of life. They're distracted by other things. Football focuses you in like a lot of sports do. It makes you trust people. It makes you share. You've got a whole plethora of emotions going through every match. You've got to pick up a play when they're down. And I think it's something you can apply in every walk in your life. Really is. We need to do that more because I'm looking at people going through the COVID situation. And that kind of attitude is what we need. The person to give you the hug when you're not doing well, the person to lift you up higher when you need to be, the person to guide you. Football teaches you all these skills. It teaches you to walk on a pitch when you're injured and do your best. It teaches you to be brave. It teaches you to be a sportsman. It teaches you to lose gracefully. It teaches you to win with pride, and it teaches you to work with other people and care for them. And that's what I see from our team there. Yeah. So it's probably one of the most important things we do in life is play sport as a team. It teaches you about family. We get up at 4 o'clock. I'm waiting at 4 o'clock in the morning, and we've got a bunch of 12 girls all coming together, chatting, sleepy. All then they start singing on the coach, annoying Mr. Lawler as they always do. And it's a great family kind of thing. And we share the successes, we share the tears. And people don't share anymore in life as much as they used to do. So I think football allows us to share so many emotions. It shares a passion and it allows us to do things, especially for women, to show that they can be part of anything. They can succeed in anything they put their minds to. And I thank my own daughters. I told you my first three daughters who asked me to be a coach. And without them, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. So I thank them as well. I also thank the doctors for saying, I can't do these things. Because that made me determined even more so to do things in life. And I think that taught me a big lesson in life. Football taught me so many lessons, but also being told you can't do things. We're always told you can't do this, you can't be successful, you can't be. And we're putting a limitation of what we can or cannot do. Football for girls and the way it's growing in India. Phenomenal growth. The tournaments, the girls are football is absolutely brilliant. More and more people are getting involved, and it's a whole cultural shift of attitudes and beliefs, breaking down barriers, breaking down stereotypes, and that's why the game's so important for girls, but also for everybody in India. I'm hoping in a few years' time, and I think it's going to happen. I watched the World Cup in England. I didn't see India represented at the World Cup. They should be there. You've got the players, you've got the talent. I want to see India represented in the World Cup football, women. I know you do well at cricket, but that's a different story, yeah? Don't tell the Australians that, but that's a different story. But women's football is phenomenal in the world now, and it's a way that they can express their individuality, their belief systems, and it's really important that they take the big stage next. That's what I'd like to see Indian women, Indian footballers taking it. I know at least 3 or 4 of my players now represent state level, and in the future, I want them to represent the country. And if I'm sat there in my old people's home watching some of my players I taught from grade 7, little tiny kids, I'll be the proudest man in the world. That's what it's about, yeah?
Very well, Kevin. I'll now stop it here and allow participants to pose questions. So if anyone would be interested, maybe Mo, you want to ask your questions, maybe off cam?
Yeah. Moi, have you anything to say? No, she's
Hi.
quiet. Hi.
Hello. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. How are you, madam?
I'm fine, sir.
What's your question?
I think that I love games very much, football, hockey, and all that. But I have not played at all. So I like.
This is why it's a new generation. When you was younger, you were restricted on what you could do. You had a specific role that you could only do. You could do the cooking, you can do this, but you weren't allowed to participate. What is wonderful now, and what I'm enjoying more than anything, especially in India, is seeing these girls develop and being allowed to express themselves in every way, academically, physically, football, and all that. And it's wonderful to see. And they've got more discipline than the boys. And I'm so proud of what they do.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Kevin.
You're welcome, Moi. Have you a question for me? Go on, Moi. You may have a little question.
How are you enjoying as a coach, as being a part of our football team?
Well, as I've said, Moi, one of the nice things with you guys is you because you're part of the squad, and I think it's an important question. Remember when we used to think we had to rely on one player?
Yeah.
And everything went to that one player. They were the big one. They were the big player. And if you think you gave her the ball, and everybody, when she left school, everybody was disappointed. How are we going to win now?
Yeah.
And the reality is that was probably the best thing which could happen, because you didn't have to rely on one player. You had to rely on the whole team. And by relying on the whole team, we became a team rather than one player. We had the whole team playing as a unit, working together, and it made us a much, much better team. And by doing that, we eventually became successful, as you know, Moi, yeah?
Well, I hope you're successful.
How? We won trophies, Moi. And we were going to win more trophies if it wasn't for COVID. You know, we were like inches away from getting our latest trophy. And then the BMC said, no more matches.
Yeah, the match got canceled in the middle.
Exactly. So the thing is what's happened with you guys is, and this is what I hate about COVID and the lockdowns, is just as you reach your prime, just as you're getting on top of your game, restrictions came in. But you've got to now go back on the pitch and pick yourselves up again and play and get the trophies you know you deserve. That's what it's about, Moy. Coaching you guys is phenomenal because you look after yourselves. You care for each other. You even care for me occasionally. Sometimes they share snacks with me. And it's the way you work as a team which makes you probably the best team in Mumbai.
Thank you, Mr. Kevin. I have
Welcome.
another question then.
Yeah,
Do you
go on
have
then, Moy.
any suggestions in other than skills that you want us to, apply and everything?
Yeah. Yeah, you learn the skills from Mr. Preetham and learn from each other. I think the most important lesson we learned this last year is we know how good we are, but it's the mind. It's the mind that wins the game in life. When we started believing we could win games, is when we started winning games. When we went against Edgebridge, we went in there believing we could beat them. The mind is the key to actually success in everything in life, Moy. Once you start believing you can do it, not always immediately you get success, but eventually it comes. And you know that's true. You've seen it happen. So it is about the mind. Yeah?
Okay, so I should be more prepared mentally to play games?
Yeah. Yes. No, you should always be prepared to pay mentally. Hold on a second. This is my just wait. Sorry, this is my little one. This is my sorry. I don't know if you can see it, but this is my latest star footballer. Yeah, uh, she's 3 years old and she's a great footballer. Okay, you go to bed, Kelly. I'll see. I'm gonna. This always happens in lessons. I do apologise, but this is the way it is. Yeah, she wants to share with you. As Moy knows, she comes and joins us in training sessions and plays. Yeah, I know. Let me just finish this 2 seconds. And she loves football. She's been inspired by you. She's been inspired by you guys. She stands at the window in the apartment, watches you play, cheers you on. So you guys are still affecting younger generations. And again, it's like a snowball. It gets bigger and bigger. So you guys at the beginning, my youngest daughter, who's 3 now, is the end at the moment. But more and more people will play. And that's what it's about, Moy, yeah? You're inspiring people. People, when you come to school, the grade 6s go, wow, I want to be part of the girls' team. Wow, I want to do this. They've proven they can be successful. So that's what it's about. You're inspiring the whole school. I mean, we went back to school after one tournament, and Mr. Tony, our head of school, stopped all lessons for 10 minutes just so he could welcome them all back because they did so well.
Yeah, that was really sweet. I was really surprised because when I went back to school from the tournament, because it was in the middle of the school day, like everyone was at the lobby and they were all cheering for us. And when we went up and we got off the elevator, people were crowding and it was really nice.
Exactly, Moy. You're game changers. You're game changers for both women's football. You're changing the whole society, as Miss. Is it Premiata? I might pronounce your name wrong, Miss. Miss Madani was saying when she was a kid, she didn't have these opportunities. She wanted to do them. She dreamed of doing them. Family circumstances didn't let her do them. You missed a little bit about me. I was told I could never play sport in my life, yeah, because of injuries. You guys are inspiring a whole generation. And that's what it's about. You're not just playing for you, you're playing for opportunity to play and do the things you do. It's a whole new movement in India of women successful in things you do. That's what's important about why women's football especially is important. It's to break away the stereotypes of what people say you can or cannot do. Boundaries, breaking the barriers. More and more people are going to be playing football because of you, Moi, and because of our team. More and more teams want to come and play us because they want to try themselves against the best. You know that as well, yeah? So it's a really important thing you're doing. I know from experience, all the mums of these girls who range between 17 and 15, they're the most highly supportive women in their lives because they want them to play. They want them to achieve things that maybe they couldn't achieve when they was a child. Does that make sense? So you're doing it for everybody, Mo. You're doing it for your family. You're doing it for the next generation.
Yeah.
So be proud of it.
Okay, I will.
As I'm proud of everybody.
Yeah. So, Kevin, I know that all your girls are pretty skillful. They play some great football. How do you see it coming off possibly post-COVID? How do you see the team gelling, and what do you think is the future? And the second question is, how do you like it on this platform? Or what is your feeling?
Wow. What do I see in the future? Again, my mind thinks differently. I've been predicting what would happen in COVID, and as some of my students know, I'm uncannily accurate. It's not that I'm a witch or something like that. I just have I think differently. Where do we go? This is the big question. We're all under lockdown. We're all hoping to get back. The first thing we've got to do is get back to being fit. Of course. Now, fortunately for my girls, because of the leadership of Maury and Ira and a couple of the other girls, they've been practicing fitness every week. So when we go to our first match, we're going to be fitter than them. We're going to be more prepared from them. We've no choice yet. And mentally stronger than them. Because they've already kept the team together throughout the COVID times. So whenever we get a chance to play again, mentally they're fit, emotionally they're fit, and they've done exercise to keep themselves fit. So that gives us a huge start when the football tournament starts again. And I hope it starts soon. I really do. I think it's the biggest loss for young people to not be able to do these things. It's the biggest loss. And I hope to God that they can start playing as soon as possible.
Right. They've almost lost 1 year in this process. So that could be one thing, and they can certainly look at getting back and use this time in preparation more than while away. And Kevin, the last question was about you being on this platform on Trendz Talks. How do you like it here?
Well, again, it's always good to share information. I spend a lot of time online now discussing with kids online, debating online, whatever I've got to do. And platforms like this allow me to interact with people from all over the world. Once over, my voice could be heard by a room full of 5 people on an international platform. It can be heard by many, many more people in the world. And that's partly down to your work, trying to create a platform for people's voices. And while we can have this platform to discuss and motivate each other through these times, we can always come out through it as a better human being. That's what I believe. So it's a good platform. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Kevin. I might just wind it up here. I'm going to stop the recording. However, you can still continue.